The text that was chosen to be
Bob Lee killer arraignment delay.
was selective. She obviously wouldn't have chosen that as a defense.
Chronic pain.
What is your understanding
Being a
of the
demon.
relationship between the victim and the suspect and the suspect
And the house.
suspect's sister?
As we've said, this is still very much a fresh and ongoing investigation. So there's many details that we're not going to reveal at this time, because this is still a very ongoing investigation. So I want to protect the integrity of it. And so at this point, the only thing that we are releasing publicly is that there was a connection between the three. Miss Momeni appears to be the link between the two gentlemen, and that's all we're willing to reveal at this time. Clearly, based on her text message, there seemed to be an exchange between the two men prior to the stabbing.
Is there any chance that anybody else in this case would be facing charges?
That is always a possibility unless and until we get to the end of an investigation. So we have to follow the leads in this case until we exhaust them to ensure that everybody who should be charged has been charged.
At this point, has everyone been cooperating?
Again, I'm not going to comment specifically on the investigation. It's an ongoing process, and so we have to wait till we get to the end of the road.
The defense attorney accused the police department of picking and choosing what email that they released to the public. Were there any other emails that were not released between the sister and Bob Lee? A text, sorry.
So the police department didn't release anything. Our office filed a motion to detain. That is what contained information regarding text messages. So I want to be clear about that. We provided to the judge what we believe is sufficient evidence to warrant the judge making a decision to detain without bail. If the defense wants to make a counter argument to that and provide other evidence, they have the opportunity to do so.
We'll do a couple more. Yes.
Paula Canny kind of alluded to the fact that she believes there's evidence to prove Momeni's innocence. Can you comment on that?
Sounds like a standard defense lawyer to me. That is what they are tasked with doing. They're tasked with coming in and arguing that their client did not commit the crime for which they've been charged. And so she's doing everything that we expect of a defense lawyer, coming in saying her client didn't commit this crime, or that it was committed under a circumstance for which it's not illegal, and of course is seeking to have him released.
Did you expect to have the arraignment pushed back to 2 weeks, essentially, from his first appearance?
No, we did not expect to have this arraignment pushed back. As I said, we have provided preliminary discovery in this case, which is very standard, in order to provide them the opportunity to respond to the allegation and enter their plea, and as well to argue his custody status. If anyone knows the most about this case, it's Mr. Momeni. Mr. Lee is deceased. So she has access to her client and any information that she needs from him, as well as a substantial amount of evidence that we've already provided her. And so we were expecting this to go forward today. And as you heard, the family of Mr. Lee is very disappointed that it did not move forward today. And so we will just have to see what happens next week.
How many attorneys from your office are working on this case?
At this point, we have a single prosecutor assigned.
If we get an arraignment on May 2nd, can you tell us what follows and an expectation of a possible trial date?
So in a felony case, at the time of arraignment, you have an opportunity as a defendant to set your case for preliminary hearing, which is the first hearing that comes after your arraignment when you are charged with a felony. The defendant has the right to set that preliminary hearing on a speedy timeline, which is 10 court days after the arraignment, or to waive that right to it happening within 10 court days and choose to exercise a further right of 60 calendar days. They also have the opportunity to waive that right if they like and drag it out as long as they wish. But from the time of the preliminary hearing, if they are held to answer to the charges, they are able to come into court and exercise a speedy trial right, for which the trial would be set 60 days from that point.
Thank you.
Defense counsel said that the autopsy report and toxicology were both done. She should have that. Is that correct?
As I pointed out earlier, that's not something that is yet available. You're talking about a medical examiner's office that does hundreds of autopsies in a given month even. And so it takes time for those very extensive reports to be generated. They have to be typed up. They have to be reviewed, peer reviewed even. And so that takes time. And normally our timeline for the ME's office to give us reports is about 60 days.
Okay, we'll do two more. Sergio, I saw a hand, and
Once he's arraigned, there's kind of a clock that starts ticking. I'm aware of that. There's also supposed to be a little bit more information to be released. I guess there's going to be a charging document and those kind of things as well. Contained within those documents, what kind of new information do you expect is going to be revealed? You know?
So there's no additional charging document that comes forward at the time of arraignment. We've already charged our complaint, which is what initially is charged in a case. Once the